Grand Rising.
Good morning.
How you doing today?
I had a great morning, and then something happened, and then it's not so great. But that's the good points of meditation and stuff and taking care of yourself. So you can know how to manage things and all that, because I'm highly upset right now.
Everything's gonna work itself out.
Yeah.
Everything that's supposed to happen happens.
Yeah, thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
I think I just want to get right to it. So let's introduce ourselves and then go from there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. I'm Mahogany.
I'm Ish.
And this is Culture Currency.
What culture?
Is the value.
That's right.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Like and comment, share.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We speak a lot about our interactions and all of our conversations because relationships are a large part of health.
Yeah, life. Yeah.
Mental health.
Yep.
Emotional health. Today, we're going to be talking about relationships.
Intimate relationships, right?
Intimate relationships, yes. The effects it had on who we become.
Yep.
Maybe how it displayed who we were in the past and all of these things. So I'm interested in knowing...
And the things we've learned from that.
Yeah.
How we've grown.
I'm interested in knowing your journey in the relationship space. I was here for some stuff, but not a lot.
Stuff. Oh yeah, then the stuff started going
You was here
down.
for a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
So, how we going to start this off?
I have quite a few questions, but it's like...
Set that off there.
All right, so have you ever been in an unhealthy relationship, and what did you learn from that or those experiences?
Have I? I've been in actually a lot of unhealthy relationships. Relationships are pretty much trial and error.
Yeah.
And a reflection of your relationships, the first relationships you have in life, which told me a lot about myself. Like my first real relationship was super toxic. Like super toxic, but I was young, you know what I mean? I was young, so it was fun as hell to me. When you're young, the more drama, the more excitement.
Some people never grow out of that.
Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely did. So my first relationship, I was very, very wet behind the ears when it comes down to truly understanding people, period. I think I was really gullible and really unrealistic in regard to thinking as long as you are a certain way, the other person will be a certain way.
Oh, okay.
And that bit me.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I would say all of them were unhealthy. I think finally where I am now, I think this is the healthiest relationship I've been in because I'm now getting to know. I'm still discovering. I'm still in self-discovery. But what I realized that I had to be in self-discovery. I didn't know that before. So I was just doing things and being things and, you know what I'm saying, and bringing everything old with me and operating out of deficits, looking for what was missing in the last one and this one, and then still not getting everything because I'm, you know what I mean? And now I'm able to be clearer about my boundaries, clearer about my expectations, very clear about things, like the things I just can't accept. It's like I can't. I can't do it. And understanding that sometimes when relationships are over, it's not always about cheating or disrespect or something like that. It's just like maybe the values don't align or priorities don't align. So I'm in a more mature and healthier space to have a good relationship. So yeah, that's where I am now. But I'll have to go through a hell of a lot, like we all have, to get to this space.
The key component to what you said was values not aligning. All of my relationships have been unhealthy. I was the unhealthy component in some of them.
Right.
As well. It was a transferring of unhealthy energy. But what I will say is that my last relationship, I thought that I had gotten all of the information needed to be successful the last go round. And what I did not take into account is that it is a two-way streak. So even if I got all of my information, it didn't necessarily mean that the other person had all of their information.
Right. So I want to say something about that. Two things. The two-way streak and the other person. Because I feel like my last relationship before this one, some years ago, was the ending of a certain type of relationship, of dating the same person over and over. I had one relationship where it wasn't the same person over and over, but it was the relationship was so different, but I got to see myself in this person. I said, damn, she's so crazy. There's no room for my crazy, but this is how I act. You know what I'm saying? And I got to see myself, and I knew I couldn't stay there and I shouldn't stay there, but I learned so much, right? It even caused rifts in my family, you know what I'm saying? But this last one, I know it's over, but I need to finish it because I know this is it, and I know when I learn what I have to learn, I'm not coming back to this space no more. So I knew what the journey I had to go through for that. You know what I'm saying? And it was the end of literally of a 18-year saga, a 18-year continuation of BS.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But I knew it. But I know that sometimes you just got to go through shit. I knew I was going through it, and I knew that was it. And in terms of what you said, that you could have gotten yourself to a certain place, don't mean your mate is there. And the thing about that, though, is we have to know that in relationships, it's not we can't change and rearrange people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we're like, oh, they like this because it is. Or, what that got to do with you?
Yeah.
What do that have to do with the stage that they're in? What does that have to do with you? You know what I'm saying? That's why boundaries are important. That's why knowing who you are is important.
Very.
You know what I mean? Because you have to have those, because we're all in different stages. You can't try to save everybody. No. You have to get with who's right for you.
So there's levels to the growth.
Yeah.
Right? So just because you're at the next level and your partner is not where you are, doesn't mean you're at the final stage.
Don't
right?
mean you did. Don't mean you made it, because I don't think it's ever made it.
There is a made it, there's a destination, and then there's a maintenance that comes along with that.
Okay.
There's a constant. But after that first relationship, that was just like super tumultuous.
You felt like tumultuous relationships and all of that was exciting?
It was fun as a kid. You know what I mean? And what I tie that into is my home life, right? Like when I started it off, I said, you know, the relationships often exhibit in your earlier stages the relationships that you first came into the world with. Right. So in my household, our relationships were very tumultuous. Like we fought, we argued, but we called it love. You know what I mean? So now
it was familiar.
This is what this is. The only difference is there's a sexual component. Right? So it was familiar.
This is it.
Yeah.
I got you, babe.
Fast forward, I ended up with someone who was healthier for me. But because she was healthier for me,
you ain't like it. Yeah.
So I was the one who rocked that boat. And I learned so much about myself in that relationship because I've always been the most dedicated. She was more dedicated to me than I was in that relationship. Yeah.
So for me, the relationships that I found myself in at first, they caused a lot of anxiety in me because I wasn't used to that. You know what I mean? My household was mad calm. I never seen my parents fight. My mother, tells me later different stuff. He was like, no, actually, no. She's like, your dad, he would go out, take a walk, and and different stuff like that. And then we couldn't fight each other. When we did, we were in such big trouble. She's like, y'all ain't gonna be acting like ends in the street. Y'all fight other people. So when I got in relationships and that stuff started happening, it caused mad anxiety for me. And so it didn't feel good, but it's like I kept finding myself in those types of situations. But my cutoff point was, if it gets physical, then it's done. But then I got to the point in life where it got physical and I wasn't done, so it got more physical. You know what I mean? And then I had people who just know me forever, like, East, this is not you. This is not you. You know this is wrong. You don't do all of that. Now you putting your hands up like, wow, what were you doing? You're going too far with this. So it's funny that you say that, because when I found myself in stuff that wasn't familiar, it wasn't fun.
Yeah,
it wasn't fun.
Yeah. Well, even the familiar at some point becomes very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As you're growing and you're getting to know that these things are not, this is not normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Right,
come
then
into
you know that.
contact with other people, and like those conversations have you like, oh, everybody don't do this?
Right.
Oh, this ain't regular?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, even though the dysfunction in my household was us being violent and all of that towards each other, my mother didn't allow it. She just wasn't home. She's working.
So
it's us,
right?
And we at it. and we're a family of fighters. So nobody's backing down.
Right.
And that's where the issue is. It's like everybody got a chip on their shoulder, and everybody knows they can.
Right.
So now you got to prove it.
Right.
She wasn't raising us to be that way, but that's what it was.
I mean, yeah, kids fight.
The violence in my relationships was super uncool. With the first one that I spoke of, it was like violence, and the makeup is extraordinary, right? So we started tying that together. So now it's an addiction.
Yeah.
We fight, we sleep with each other. We fight, we sleep with each other. So that was super, super toxic, right? Then the next relationship, she had a little more of a dominant personality, so she would challenge me.
Right.
Me and her ended up having a very physical relationship. And I'll never forget, one day I knocked her out, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember being scared to death that I killed this woman.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, if you wake her up, I promise to never, ever, ever be physical with a woman again. And it's been, I don't even know how many years. Even when the situation was like people putting their hands on me, I still wouldn't put my hands on a woman because I meant that. I didn't realize I was going so far.
Yeah. Always show great restraint in my relationships, even when I was being attacked, and good as holding off and stuff like that. But there was a certain level of disrespect that I experienced in one of my relationships where I just could not allow that. So it did become a battle of like who's tougher. You know what I'm saying? And it just went too far. And what I realized about those relationships is that once disrespect sets in,
It's over.
the doors are open.
It's over.
The doors are open. So disrespect comes in a way of verbal, physical, all that. So cheating and all that is part of disrespect. So when I was able to sit back and get out of that and look at it, I'm like, damn, we was just disrespecting each other all over the place. And once the verbal disrespect started getting there and all that kind of stuff, and then I get a little, not just crazy like we fighting all the time, but the fact that that was even an option. You know what I'm saying? The fact that I was even an option was the problem. And then other things start happening. That's part. Because you allow disrespect in your relationship in the first place.
That part.
You know what I mean? And then you can't close. The door's already open already. So it's up. And that's not you can't close it, but both of y'all have to be sound enough to be able to pull that back, or it's over.
And that's not often the case.
No, that's not often the case. You got to be, to me, like in a real mature state to be able to do that. I dated somebody, I mean, she was so different than anybody that I've ever dealt with. And I said, I'm gonna give something different a chance. But she wanted to be the boyfriend and the girlfriend.
She wanted to play some both sides.
Like she was a feminine woman presenting, like, and all that kind of stuff, beautiful woman. But her personality is like my leadership couldn't really shine there.
That's exactly.
And I didn't really realize that later until I was like, oh, I wasn't even able to get in my bag and really show her like who I am. And it's like everything you want, you already had it here, but you so busy trying to control everything that you just messed that up. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't be myself there. So I had to go. And that's the same relationship where I saw myself in her, but I just saw so much, and it's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I couldn't settle into me there.
That, you know what's crazy is, the relationship I'm speaking of that stopped me, that put an end to me putting hands on people, was also the relationship that showed me so much of myself. So in all reality, I was fighting myself. It showed me that you could be so secure and confident in who you are in so many different spaces and be so empty in other spaces.
Yes.
Right? Because there's no reason why, if you're solid in who you are and where you stand, how can somebody else
take you here and there,
take you out of that?
Exactly. So boom. So that's what I learned. And when I said I'm not doing this no more with anybody, that you letting people control you. So when somebody does something and then you blow and you crash out and you do all of this, everybody has control over your emotions.
Yep.
Because you can't manage yourself.
Therefore, you're not being the leader.
No,
of
therefore,
anything.
you're not the leader of a goddamn thing. Because as soon as somebody do this, you bugging out, you smacking the shit out. I'm like, you going crazy. Because you have no control over yourself, buddy.
When I say it showed me so much of who I was, like, I don't believe that things change you. I believe that things reveal you. Right? Your experiences reveal you to you.
Fire.
And our relationships, that's the whole purpose of a relationship. The more that you have relationships, interactions, not just romantic, all of the relationships within your world
you get to know yourself.
are a reflection of who am I, right? Till you get to the point of really understanding yourself. And now you're at the place where you're able to identify what isn't you, what isn't for you, right? And so when I got to the relationship where I believe, was going to end in marriage, I had did all of that work to get to a place of, I'm good here. Never called out her name, you know what I mean? Never physical. Always, if I felt like a disrespectful energy, it was like, yo, I don't like I don't like what you're doing right now, and take a walk. I showed up exactly the way my prior relationships told me I was supposed to.
Right.
But in this particular situation, this person hadn't received the lessons that she needed to receive.
Right.
So she couldn't appreciate that version of me. I say all that just to say, like, in order for a relationship to be a relationship, we already have to do the work to know who we are prior to getting in a serious relationship.
I agree and disagree. Like we get to know ourselves through relationships. You said something about we think that we're confident in certain areas, but then there's other area that is like this last one. Like I said, it was just such a changing point. It was a pivot, and I realized, I said, yo, I think I'm so confident in this and that. My self-esteem had to be pretty low to continue with something like this. So then what's the process of healing and forgiving yourself? Because I was so angry with myself when I got out of that.
We usually are.
Yeah, and like, yo, are you, what the hell? What was you going through? It just changed everything in terms of what I accept and boundaries. So that's why I knew I had to go through that. And my big brother stopped talking to me behind it. You know what I mean? Like, yo, because he just hated seeing me there.
When you love somebody, you can't see them abuse themselves.
Yeah, and I said, listen, you might be right, but I know I got to go through this. You're going to have to leave me alone. I got to go through this. I already know. So I decided to walk through that fire.
That's deep. What I recognized as well is when I went through everything that I went through in the last relationship, I was like, yo, where is the void? There has to be a void. You let too much happen. You allowed way too much. You didn't walk away when this happened, when this happened, when this happened. Like, what made this person that different, right? And what I realized was that I had a very unhealthy relationship with loyalty. And when I say that, it's not what loyalty actually is. I had a very skewed understanding of what loyalty was. And it's funny because it's not only in relationships. This has been an issue for me in anything. I say I'm going to do something, I have to do it, even if it's negative. If I made my mind up to do something, I got to go through with it. I don't know where that came from.
It was like, no, we already said we doing it.
We doing it, right? So when I said I was going to marry this person, I could not bring myself to walk away at times I knew I should, because I said, yo, you committed to something. You committed to something. You committed to something.
You probably got that from karate
what's the unhealthy part of it? The way that I commit is a beautiful thing. But commitment is another thing, like, is the relationship. It goes both ways. There is no such thing, there's no such principle that is one-sided. Right? So the moment that somebody else reneges on what the agreement is, you no longer are held to that.
Thank you.
And I wasn't understanding that.
Yo, can I say something?
Yes.
You can finish your point. I'm not gonna forget
so
this.
I had a hard time for a very long time because of the fact that my word is my bond.
Yes.
And the moment I say this is what I'm gonna do, I do it. And we had a moment where I was ready to leave. And she cried to me and she said, please don't give up on me. I got this and that going on. I'm gonna do better. And I reiterated the promise and the commitment. And so I held myself to that in a very unhealthy way.
You the rock, you solid, and you doing this, and because you said, and you gonna know I keep my word.
But if we go back to, we had another conversation about in the gender wars where I spoke about this same relationship. This person wasn't keeping any of her agreements.
Exactly.
So what are you doing?
Exactly. The contract is null and void.
Yeah. So I had a very unhealthy relationship to what I believed loyalty was at the time, and it kept me in situations.
But you're a very black and white person.
I am.
And you can be extreme sometimes.
I know.
So that's what that is. That's just in your personality. It's just like everything is to the, you know what I mean? So it's
I think that's a gift.
Yeah, everything is a gift.
Sometimes be a curse to me as well.
Yeah. It's somebody that I love for so long. I'm talking about probably 18, 19 years. And and so we had a time when we did, but I wouldn't consider it a relationship because it just wasn't. But it was a relationship, not a committed one. And throughout the years, we've back and forth, tried to, back and forth, always a character in the background, this person. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to keep going back and forth no more. Because when you realize that you've been somebody's plan B, and if you feel like somebody didn't see you in all this time, you used up all your tickets. You know what I mean? And this person that came and really seriously was like, yo, what's up? Let's try something. But I was already dating somebody, and I said, I'm not going to mess up the potential it is for this roller coaster. Where it's like, yo, if we building trust and I'm doing this with this woman right here, and this could be something, and then I mess it up, and then I got to try to heal this thing for something that I know be in and out. I'm not doing it no more. And to finally get to that place, that was indicative of also that my last relationship where it's like, I'm not going to keep repeating these same behaviors. So it wasn't really about my decision to not go back. It wasn't about standing on business, but more about is like, that was more of a self-love thing.
Self-love.
Yeah, like you showed me that you don't see me, and how you don't is crazy. Because I think I'm fire. I know I'm fire. But the fact that you don't, that it took you so long to see it, I don't want it.
Yeah. It's crazy because even with my last situation, I remained open. After all, it was a lot destroyed. But I kept myself open for the possibility of apology, the possibility of seeing oneself in that space and saying I did wrong by this person. And all it did when we did converse the last time was it made me say, yo, how could I be so wrong about a person?
Oh, being wrong about somebody.
About a character. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to say, somebody is not there yet and they're going through the rigmarole of something. But when they double back and it seems like you're intentionally trying to hurt the person, it's like, you're just not the greatest human being.
You're not the greatest human being.
And I think that was the hardest part of the end of that. It was like, how could you not notice that this person you was ready to spend your whole life with is just not the great human being that you thought it? Like, where were you? What were you paying attention to and what were you not paying attention to? That was the biggest lesson I got that helped me going forward. As I'm meeting people, to be able to know the red flags is like,
Okay, I got to say
Now.
one more thing now since you said that. How can someone identify red flags in a relationship?
So I think it starts with the conversations. I think it starts with you truly understanding going into these relationships what it is that is okay and is not okay for you, what you will put up with, won't put up with, what those deal breakers are, and those things that's kind of like I'll give you a conversation behind this one, right? And once two people identify those things, then you got the groundwork, because once you commit to something and you can't stick to the commitment, that is an automatic, that's the red flag right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're saying you're this, but you can't show up as this, then what are we doing?
Exactly. So everything you just said and identifying red flags is really about knowledge of self.
Yes.
You can't identify anything. You're like, oh, you can't just be in a relationship like, yeah, I saw some red flags. The more you know who you are, which takes time and effort and experience, that's how you begin to identify things. And everybody's red flag is not the same.
I'm happy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the red flags are based on your boundaries and your principles and your values and all of that kind of stuff. So it's about self-knowledge.
You had counted and said you didn't really believe in people going into relationships and needing to know who they are first. And I disagreed with that, but I lost my thought.
Okay.
So I wanted to come back to that. What you just said correlates with why I said what I said. Like, you need to know who you are. Now, relationships are very different than dating.
Right.
There's a process.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a process. And the reason why we tell young people that, they're not ready yet and all of that is because they have to go through the process before they actually know who they are and know how to identify.
I was putting dating and all that together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy you said that, because it brought it back to me. And I think that that needs to come back. Like, people really need to do the work. And when I say do the work, is take inventory of understanding what do I like, what I don't like.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. What do I need?
What makes me feel anxious?
Yeah.
Like, you need to understand that feelings, like I always tell people, feelings are not facts.
Right.
But they are indicators.
That's right.
So when you feel something, it's trying to tell you something.
Right. Something
and until you understand the
right.
language of your body, you shouldn't be in a relationship.
That's right.
Right? So the dating process is for you to get to understand that language of your body.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Get to understand who
different
you are.
love languages.
Because the once you know who you are, then those red flags start popping out.
It gives you direction. You know where you're going. You know what you're looking for.
It's a GPS.
It's a GPS. It's a GPS. What steps can individuals take to heal from unhealthy relationships?
Just because a relationship didn't go well doesn't mean it damaged you, right? So you got to figure out if you were damaged, and if so, what was the damage? Why were you damaged? Right? Those questions, when you ask yourself those questions, it gives you the opportunity to really understand how your wounds need to be licked, right? So taking the time to identify why things went the way they went, what your part was, because the biggest part of healing from anything is the accountability portion.
Yeah.
You have to think about, what could I have done differently?
That's
it's not
right.
a blame thing.
Nope.
It's a how can I show up differently next time? That's what accountability is.
Yes.
And it's absent of their accountability. They got their own stuff that they're gonna have to take accountability for. But you're healing for you. So you need to do your work. And once you get the accountability portion, things really just seem to move differently.
And in that process, it's important to just be and just allow things just to come to you, and without talking, without getting advice, just allowing things just to come to you.
I think that's where a lot of the inventory takes place, but the healing portion takes place with the interaction with others. So I would say that having people whose information you can trust, throw some things back at you, challenge some things, will help you to get to a better place as well. But the stillness is necessary and the alone time is necessary because it's a part of that getting to know yourself process.
Right, and then that's a good ending point. But I wanted to add this because I was starting to say that about, like, sometimes it's not all about talking, but it's good to get it out. If you're into writing, some people are not. Maybe you could talk in your phone these days, get it out, talk it out without necessarily just blabbing to other people and getting their opinions in your mind. Sometimes you just got to get it out yourself. Whereas a dated entry where you can look back and see how you've grown or not, and what your genuine concerns were, you know.
And make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people whose information you can trust.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't trust that you could talk to people about what you're going through, that's problematic. If you don't think that somebody is healthy enough to give you healthy information, that's problematic. If you think that your circle is going to use your information against you, that's problematic. So that goes back to just the whole relationship thing, right? It's not just within your romance, it's within your relationships, period. Make sure that you have healthy relationships, and those relationships help you with other relationships.
Yeah.
I'm Mahogany.
I'm Ish.
And this is Culture Currency.
But culture
is the value.
Make sure to like, comment,
subscribe, share.
Follow us, peace.
All that.
If you or someone you love is experiencing domestic violence, don't hesitate. Reach out for help. Support is available 24/7. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. Your safety matters.